So we mentioned USC is changing quarterbacks. Nebraska is changing offensive coordinators. So Dana Holgorsen came in last week as a consultant. On Monday, Matt Rhule announces that Dana Holgorsen will be the offensive coordinator. And here's what he said.
I think, called him last week, had him come in, had him kind of look at everything. I think he's got a long history of success offensively, both as a head coach, but certainly as a coordinator before that. And I think he just kind of gives us a fresh perspective on looking at kind of what we're doing and who we're doing it with, and was able to sort of say, hey, let's kind of go in these directions over here. So I just think it gives us a great opportunity to have one of the great offensive minds, a guy that I've been friends with before and I trust, and excited to see what he does.
So that was quick, because that was apparently not the intention originally. And I do believe Matt Rhule when he says that, where they brought Dana Holgorsen in, former West Virginia and Houston head coach, and he looked at some things, and now they're replacing Marcus Satterfield. Now, I think Marcus Satterfield was going to get fired one way or the other. But this feels like, hey, let's give Dana Holgorsen a dress rehearsal, and if things go well, we're going to try to throw a bunch of money at him to have him be the OC next year.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of read that properly. It just happened quicker, right? Like, I think we both thought it was possible that he would be the coordinator next year, get Nebraska's offense humming, and then that would springboard him potentially into another head coaching job. But yeah, I am always wary of offensive coordinator changes in the middle of the year because it's a difficult thing to adjust to. But also, Dana has been,
especially it's not the same offensive family or system at all.
So, I think that there probably should be some growing pains, but also too, like, Nebraska's just trying to win a game right now, and they're trying to, because like they are massive underdogs against USC, like to the point where it was almost like, wow, that's a huge number. And if they lose to USC, playing Wisconsin and Iowa, and especially Iowa on the road, man, like we are in the danger zone of not making a bowl again. Like we're right on the precipice of that. So I see the intent here, right? To create a spark, to bring a different perspective, to try to open some things up. But at the same time, too, it feels kind of like a jarring move that has to pay off because it could also go the other way.
Yeah, it could blow up. Now, I'm not sure their offense could get much worse than it's looked the past few weeks. So that's the thing. I'm going to go back to Marcus Satterfield. He got asked a few weeks ago about what the ideal yards per play for his offense was, what he was aiming for, and he had no answer for it. And it's one of those things where you couldn't figure out if he was just kind of stonewalling because he didn't want to actually say what it is, because I'm sure most coaches know that, or if he didn't actually know. But either way, it was a bad look. And it was just one of those things where you knew he wasn't going to make it. But I didn't think they would do this mid-season. Like,
is that a stat that offensive coordinators think about?
Shocking.
Like, I didn't find that to be that egregious. Did you?
About not knowing that number?
Like that, the response of like, well, what yards per play do you want? I mean,
it was more how he didn't answer it. Like he didn't have a plan to answer it, and he made himself look terrible. Like, all you have to say is, yes, I have those numbers, but I don't share those publicly. We keep those in-house.
But do you think every offensive coordinator in America like knows? Yeah, that's true. But like, do you think that?
Yes,
you do. Okay, I just didn't know how big of a stat that. Like, I mean,
no, I think they all have a pretty good idea of what they want.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, ideally, we want 10 yards of play, maybe 15.
I know, but a third grader could have said that.
Why didn't he say that then?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like watch that and go, wow, this guy's.
I don't know. Shouldn't you be able to think on your feet if you're an offensive coordinator? Like, you got 40 seconds to call a play. Well, less than that because you got to get lined up.
Yeah, I guess.
You've had Wendy's Nugs dipped in sauce. Have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new Saucy Nuggs. Take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo, honey, barbecue, garlic, parm, and the hot varieties of all those three. Highly, highly recommend. Today may be a hot honey barbecue day for me. you're a real heat seeker, though, you can try the spicy ghost pepper. I dare you. 7 delicious ways to try the nugs you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some napkins, and prepare to nug like you have never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's Gotta Be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's. So here's Matt Rhule talking more about why now, why this particular move at this time.
Have you been around something like this where week 11 you make a change like this with somebody that's not even in your building to take over calling the plays?
It's probably unique, but it's what's needed. It's the right thing. I think the kind of the genesis of this was, I think what you're going to see now is as coaches get fired, I think you'll start to see coaches like leaving maybe even before bowl games and coaching bowl games, and so the players can have some familiarity with them. And I think that that was kind of in my head of like, hey, I think you've seen coaches take jobs now and then go there and coach the bowl game. When I went to Baylor, I sat out and didn't do that, and so I didn't really have a chance to know the players till mid-spring. And so last Sunday, I appreciate all the work our staff has done. I love how hard they've grinded and cared about the kids and done their best and produced some good moments. And I felt like we needed some help, and so I just thought this was, the right thing to do. At the end of the day, like, it might be bold, it might be unique. And again, I didn't bring him at first with that. I said, hey, come and see. And I think as he got here, he felt comfortable. And, Marcus walked in right away and was like, tell me everything you need. And Glenn did the same thing. And Garrett said, I can translate this into your language. And, so, and then Dana's obviously, he's really, really smart guy offensively. He can figure out kind of what we're doing and what we do well.
So the stay for the bowl, the timing of this stuff's going to change, I think, especially with the transfer portal opening when it does in December. You probably want next year's OC in there. And the bowl part of it, unspoken by Matt Rhule, is we got to make a bowl game first. Mosley asked an interesting question in the chat. Is Rhule going to get the Coach Prime treatment for changing OCs? At least Prime's OC finished the season with Colorado. Mosley, Marcus Satterfield is finishing the season with Nebraska. Just like Sean Lewis, he got demoted, staying there. The difference in this situation is Pat Shurmur was on Colorado's staff all year last year. Dana Holgorsen got to Nebraska last week. So if we're talking about which is the more desperation move, what Dion did last year or what Matt Rhule just did, it's what Matt Rhule just did. That is the bigger desperation move.
Yeah, I agree.